Alexei Volkov stood motionless as the decontamination field washed over him, the familiar tingle of alien technology against his skin no longer novel after 3 weeks of interstellar travel. Beyond the translucent barrier, a gathering of instructors waited, 7 different species representing the Galactic Concordat's military elite. Through the shimmering field, their expressions ranged from curious to dismissive. "Final human verification complete," announced the automated system. "Atmospheric compatibility 89.7%, gravity differential 0.76 standard. Cadet Volkov cleared for entry." The tallest figure, a cerulean with iridescent blue-scaled skin and striking violet eyes, stepped forward as the field dissipated. "Welcome to Centaurus Prime, Cadet Volkov. I am Commander Thalia, Advanced Combat Specialist and your orientation officer." Alexei offered the formal palm-up salute he'd been taught. "Thank you, Commander. I'm honored to represent Earth at the Academy." A snorting sound came from a bulky Kraxis instructor with 4 arms crossed defensively across his armored torso. "Honored. The Sol system barely qualified for consideration. Your species is centuries behind the technology curve." Commander Thalia silenced him with a glance. "Qualifications aren't measured solely by technological advancement, Instructor Brackus. The Concordat values diversity." The word hung in the air like an apology. Alexei maintained his composure. He'd been warned about the reception he would face as the first human admitted to the Galactic Military Academy, an institution established on this neutral world to train the next generation of officers for an increasingly unstable galaxy. Humanity was still adapting to their relatively recent introduction to interstellar society, and the prejudices were predictable. "Your quarters are in the auxiliary wing," Commander Thalia continued, gesturing toward a silvery structure that gleamed under Centaurus Prime's twin suns. "Environmental controls have been adjusted to approximate Earth conditions." "Standard conditions will be sufficient," Alexei replied quietly. The instructors exchanged glances. A slender avian Kelliary with emerald plumage tilted her head. "Standard conditions would be uncomfortable for your physiology, the atmospheric pressure alone." "I've trained in varied environments," Alexei interrupted politely. "Adaptation is part of human military doctrine." Commander Thalia studied him with new interest. "Very well. Report to medical for baseline assessments, then join the other cadets for orientation in the central amphitheater." As Alexei followed the designated path, he felt the subtle weight difference with each step, lighter than Earth but not dramatically so. The air carried unfamiliar scents, metallic undertones, and the biological signatures of dozens of species, nothing he couldn't handle. In the medical bay, a meridian physician with translucent skin revealing a complex circulatory system scanned him repeatedly. "Fascinating bone density," she murmured, "and your muscle fiber composition, unusual for a carbon-based species from a temperate world." "Earth isn't entirely temperate," Alexei explained, maintaining the practiced neutrality that had helped him secure this position. "We have extreme variations." The physician, Dr. Alindra, reviewed her readings. "Your file classifies Sol 3 as a Class C world, moderately hospitable, yet your physical adaptations suggest." "Classifications are generalized," he offered diplomatically. After completing an exhaustive series of tests, Alexei joined 200 other cadets in the amphitheater, a dramatic space with curved walls displaying a real-time view of the surrounding galaxy. He took a seat in the back, aware of the curious and occasionally hostile glances from alien cadets representing 37 worlds. A striking female cadet with copper-colored skin and luminescent silver hair took the seat next to him. Small crystalline structures grew naturally along her temples and cheekbones, catching the light with each movement. "So you're the human," she said, voice melodic with an unusual harmonic quality. "I'm Vexara Tactical Operations Solarian Collective." She studied him unabashedly. "You don't look particularly intimidating." "Alexei Volkov, Earth Special Forces," he offered a smile. "Looks can be deceiving." She laughed, the sound like chimes. "That's diplomatic. Word is your world barely qualified, something about underdeveloped threat response systems and inadequate environmental adaptation." Before he could respond, Commander Thalia stepped onto the central platform, immediately commanding attention. "You represent the finest your worlds have to offer," she began, her voice resonant. Over the next 6 cycles, you will be tested beyond your limits. Many will fail. Those who succeed will lead our forces in increasingly unstable times. Her violet eyes swept the room. Tomorrow, we begin with environmental adaptation trials. Prepare accordingly. As the amphitheater emptied, Vexara gave Alexei an appraising look. The environmental trials eliminate 20% of cadets every cycle. The Draxes cadets are betting you won't last a full day. Alexei simply nodded. We'll see. That night in his austere quarters, Alexei reviewed the trial protocols on his datapad. The first simulation would recreate a Class 9 volcanic event on a high-gravity world, atmospheric toxins, extreme heat, and unstable terrain. It was designed to push cadets to their physiological limits. He powered down the environmental controls in his room, allowing the unfiltered conditions of Centaurus Prime to flow in. Then he began a series of measured exercises, the same routines he'd performed in Arctic training camps, Saharan outposts, and deep-sea pressure chambers back on Earth. From the observation center, Commander Thalia watched the humans' quarters on a monitoring screen. Unlike other cadets frantically preparing with technical aids and biological supports, Volkov had deliberately disabled his environmental protections. Interesting approach, noted Dr. Alindra, joining her. Either foolish or extremely confident. Commander Thalia's scaled brow furrowed. Or perhaps our assessment of Earth is incomplete. The next morning, as cadets gathered for the first trial, nervous tension permeated the preparation area. Many wore supplemental breathing apparatus or thermal regulation suits. Alexei arrived in standard-issue training gear, unaugmented. As the simulation chamber doors hissed open, Vexara caught his eye. Good luck, human. Try not to die on your first day. Alexei smiled. On Earth, we call this a warm-up. The volcanic simulation chamber roared to life, instantly transforming into a hellscape. Superheated air laced with toxic compounds swirled around jagged obsidian formations as artificial gravity pressed down at 1.8 times galactic standard. Visibility dropped to meters as sulfuric clouds billowed across the terrain. The objective was simple: cross the 2-kilometer expanse to retrieve a beacon while environmental conditions progressively worsened. Vexara activated her thermal shielding and respiratory augmentation. Around her, cadets from various worlds deployed specialized adaptations. Draxes cadets extending their secondary respiratory membranes, Kelari unfurling heat-dispersing plumage, Meridians transitioning their transparent skin to reflective surfaces. Through the haze, she spotted Alexei. The human wore only the standard protection goggles and a simple rebreather, minimal equipment compared to others. Curious, she adjusted her path to keep him in sight. The simulation intensified. Temperature readings climbed past 60 degrees C as the artificial volcano began ejecting superheated material. 3 Proximan cadets had already retreated, their biological cooling systems overwhelmed. The chamber floor trembled, splitting into unstable platforms separated by bubbling pools of simulated magma. Yet Alexei moved with measured efficiency, each step precise, breathing regulated. When a nearby Kelari cadet stumbled, wings faltering at the edge of a magma pool, Alexei diverted his path. He steadied the avian recruit with one hand while maintaining his balance on the shifting terrain. Keep your wings closed, he advised calmly. Use the thermal updrafts to your advantage rather than fighting them. The Kelari stared at him in confusion. How are you not? A violent tremor interrupted as the platform beneath them destabilized. Alexei simply hoisted the lighter avian cadet and leapt across the widening gap, landing with practiced ease despite the crushing gravity. He set the cadet down and continued his advance without breaking stride. In the control center, Commander Thalia watched with growing fascination. His core temperature has barely elevated, reported Dr. Alindra, studying the biometric feeds. Heart rate and respiration remain within optimal parameters. Impossible, growled Instructor Brackus. The simulation is at 73% intensity. Even Ignari-fired Wellers show physiological strain at this level. Thalia zoomed the monitoring feed onto Alexei's face. The human wasn't just enduring. He looked almost comfortable, navigating the hellscape with the casual competence of someone walking through a mild rainstorm. Increase intensity to 85%, she ordered. Back in the simulation, the change was immediate. Gravitational pressure surged, driving several more cadets to their knees. The atmosphere thickened with particulates as simulated pyroclastic flows cascaded across the terrain. Emergency extraction beacons activated across the chamber as cadets abandoned the trial. Vexara gritted her teeth, feeling her specialized Solarian adaptations straining. Her people thrived in high-radiation environments but struggled with intense gravitational pressure. As a particularly violent tremor nearly toppled her, a strong hand caught her arm. "Lean forward," Alexei advised, stabilizing her. "Lower your center of gravity and take shorter steps." She stared at him, silver eyes wide with disbelief. "How are you not struggling? Your world is lighter than this." "Parts of it," he acknowledged, guiding her across a precarious section. "But we train with weighted packs in varied environments. This," he gestured at the hellscape around them, "reminds me of specialized training exercises." "This is specialized training," she countered. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "For us, it's Tuesday." They reached the beacon together, the first team to complete the objective. As the simulation faded around them, Vexara noticed something extraordinary. While she was drenched in coolant secretions, her specialized suit scorched, Alexei looked as though he'd completed nothing more strenuous than a brisk walk. The observation deck erupted with murmured conversations as cadets and instructors alike stared at the unlikely pair. The Draxes cadets who had wagered against the humans' survival exchanged troubled glances. That evening, as Alexei sat alone in the dining hall, Vexara joined him, setting down her tray with deliberate purpose. "You held back," she stated without preamble. "You didn't need my help reaching the beacon." Alexei shrugged. The objective was retrieval, not speed. Cooperation seemed logical. "Most cadets view these trials as competitions." She studied him with newfound interest. "What are Earth humans really like? Our databases contain minimal information." "We're adaptable," he offered after a thoughtful pause. "Our planet has extreme variations, deserts where temperatures exceed 50 degrees C, oceans under crushing pressure, regions with less than 10% oxygen at altitude. Yet your file classifies Earth as moderately hospitable. Averages can be misleading." His expression softened slightly. "Our history shaped us as much as our environment, constant competition, warfare, survival challenges." Vexara leaned forward, the crystalline structures on her face catching the light. "My people evolved on a world bathed in radiation that would kill most species. We developed crystalline cellular structures to harness energy directly. Each of us carries a piece of our home star within our biology." She touched the formations along her temple. "Yet today, I was the one struggling." Something shifted between them, a mutual recognition. "Tomorrow's trial is atmospheric deprivation combined with psychological stressors," she noted. "The Meridians traditionally excel there." "Should be interesting," Alexei replied. Later that night, Commander Thalia reviewed archival footage from Earth's historical database, limited records provided during humanity's recent integration into the galactic community. Images flickered across her screen. Humans running ultramarathons across scorching deserts, climbing mountains without supplemental oxygen, diving to ocean depths that would crush most species, enduring temperature extremes that violated their own medical parameters. More disturbing were the warfare records, millennia of conflict, adapting to unimaginable conditions, fighting in Arctic blizzards, tropical diseases, irradiated wastelands. The psychological resilience indicated a species forged through constant challenge. "Commander," Dr. Alindra's voice interrupted her research. "I've completed further analysis of Cadet Volkov's biological samples. And Earth's classification requires immediate review. Their cellular repair capabilities, bone density, muscular efficiency, and neurological stress responses." The physician hesitated. "These aren't characteristics of a Class C moderate world species." Commander Thalia's violet eyes narrowed. "What classification would you suggest?" "Based on these parameters alone, Class A, a Deathworld species." The Meridian physician looked troubled. "Their official diplomatic records must be significantly understated." "Or deliberately misclassified," Thalia mused, closing the historical archives. "Continue monitoring the human. I want detailed comparisons after each trial." The next morning, as cadets prepared for the atmospheric deprivation trial, The atmosphere had noticeably shifted. Word of the human's performance had spread. Alexei felt the weight of curious stares as he entered the preparation area. An imposing Draxes cadet blocked his path. "Luck won't save you today, Soil Walker. This trial tests more than physical endurance." Before Alexei could respond, Vexara appeared at his side, her crystalline features glinting dangerously. "Perhaps you should worry about your own performance, Dravk. Didn't you request extraction yesterday?" The Draxes retreated with a growl as simulation alerts sounded. Cadets filed toward the sealed chamber entrance. "They're watching you now," Vexara warned quietly. "Yesterday could be dismissed as anomalous. A second strong performance will make you a target." Alexei nodded, meeting her silver gaze. "On Earth, we have a saying, the nail that sticks up gets hammered down." "And yet here you are," she replied, a smile playing at her lips. "Here we are," he corrected, suddenly aware of a connection forming between them, unexpected, intriguing, and potentially dangerous for them both. As the chamber doors slid open, revealing a stark white void devoid of atmospheric markers, Alexei took a controlled breath. The true test was beginning, not just of his physical capabilities, but of how much of humanity's true nature he should reveal to a galaxy that already viewed his kind with suspicion. Vexara's hand brushed against his momentarily, the touch electric. "Try not to show off too much, Deathworlder," she whispered, using the term with unexpected warmth. For the first time since arriving, Alexei allowed himself a genuine smile. 3 weeks into the training cycle, the Academy administration convened an emergency session. The observation chamber, typically reserved for reviewing cadet performances, now hosted the most senior instructors gathered around a holographic display showing performance metrics. "This is unprecedented," stated Administrator Jorax, a venerable Quarian whose segmented exoskeleton clicked nervously as he gestured at the data streams. "The human has completed 17 advanced trials without a single extraction request, even the neurotoxin exposure exercise." Commander Thalia remained outwardly composed, though her scaled skin had darkened, a cerulean indication of concern. "Cadet Volkov's performance exceeds all projected parameters. I've been researching Earth's historical records, and I believe—" "Your research is irrelevant," interrupted Instructor Brackus. "The question is whether Concordat security protocols have been violated. Humans presented themselves as a developing species with moderate environmental adaptations. This specimen demonstrates capabilities consistent with apex predator evolution." "He is not a specimen," Thalia countered sharply, "and no regulations prohibit cadets from exceeding expectations." Administrator Jorax's compound eyes shifted between them. "Regardless, we must determine his actual limitations. Tomorrow's survival trial will be recalibrated to Class 9 intensity. All standard safety protocols remain, but we need accurate assessment data." After the meeting adjourned, Dr. Alindra caught up with Thalia in the corridor. "Class 9 is excessive," she warned. "Even with safety measures, we've never pushed first-cycle cadets beyond Class 7. "I know," Thalia replied, mandibles tightening with concern. "Monitor his biometrics personally. Any sign of genuine distress, and you override the simulation immediately." Meanwhile, in the cadet recreation area, Alexei sat across from Vexara, their hands almost touching on the small table between them. Around them, other cadets maintained a noticeable distance, partly respect, partly wariness after Alexei's continued exceptional performances. "Your technique in the aquatic pressure trial was fascinating," Vexara said, her silver eyes reflecting the ambient light. "Most species panic when their primary respiration systems are compromised, yet you transition to oxygen conservation with remarkable efficiency." "Freediving techniques," Alexei explained. "Some humans can hold their breath for over 10 minutes after training. Our bodies automatically optimize oxygen use under pressure." "Your species continues to surprise." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "The instructors are talking. Administrator Jorax himself observed yesterday's trial." Alexei nodded, unsurprised. "They're wondering if I've been hiding capabilities." "Have you?" The question hung between them, intimate, challenging. "Not hiding," he finally replied. "But there's a difference between what you can do and what you choose to display." His hand moved across the table, fingers lightly brushing hers. "What about you?" I've noticed your crystalline formations grow more pronounced during high radiation exercises. There's more to Solarians than your official species profile suggests. Vexara's copper skin flushed with a luminescent glow. Perhaps we both have hidden depths. A comfortable silence settled between them until Vexara spoke again. Tomorrow's survival trial has been modified. The details are classified, but the Meridian medical staff were requisitioning emergency stabilization equipment. They're testing my limits, Alexei concluded. They're testing all of us, she corrected, her fingers now deliberately intertwined with his. But you especially, be careful, Alexei. The unexpected intimacy of hearing his name in her melodic voice created a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with Earth's higher core temperature. Something was developing between them, something neither had anticipated. Would you show me? She asked suddenly. Your world, I mean. In the holosim chamber were permitted personal environmental recreations during off-cycle hours. The request surprised him. Personal environmental simulations were considered deeply private, a sanctuary for homesick cadets to temporarily experience their native conditions. I'd like that, he agreed. Later that night, they stood together in the empty holo simulation chamber. Alexei input coordinates from his personal database, and the sterile room transformed around them. They stood on a windswept mountainside, snow-capped peaks stretching in all directions under a vivid blue sky. The Himalayas, he explained as Vexara gasped at the panoramic vista. Earth's highest mountain range. This particular spot is 5,200 meters above sea level. Oxygen is approximately 50% of sea level concentration. Vexara took an experimental breath, her crystalline features capturing the simulated sunlight. The air is sharp, cold. She turned slowly, absorbing the majesty of the landscape. It's beautiful, harsh, but beautiful. Much of Earth is like that, Alexei acknowledged, watching her experience his world. Beauty intertwined with challenge. These mountains have claimed countless human lives over centuries, yet we continue to climb them, not despite the danger, but partially because of it. She looked at him with new understanding. Show me more. The simulation shifted. They stood on a vast expanse of sand dunes extending to the horizon, heat rippling the air. The Sahara Desert, Alexei said. Daytime temperatures reach 50 degrees C, dropping below freezing at night. Minimal water sources, yet humans have crossed it for millennia. As Vexara experienced each environment, rainforests teeming with life and pathogens, Arctic tundras with howling winds, churning seas with massive waves, her expression shifted from wonder to growing comprehension. Your world didn't just shape your physiology, she murmured as they finally stood in a simulated evergreen forest. It forged your psychology. You expect challenge. Adaptation isn't just a survival trait, it's cultural. Alexei nodded, suddenly aware of how close they were standing, the simulated moonlight filtering through trees illuminating her copper skin. What about your world? He asked softly. Vexara hesitated before entering her own coordinates. The forest dissolved, replaced by a landscape that seemed almost impossible, crystal formations the size of mountains refracting light in blinding patterns, the sky a swirling aurora of radiation that would be lethal to most species. In the distance, a star burned with extraordinary intensity, its flares creating symphonies of light across the crystalline terrain. Solaria, she said softly, where perpetual stellar radiation shapes everything, we don't just survive it, we harness it. She touched the formations along her face. These aren't decorative, they're photosynthetic receptors. In my natural environment, I could go years without consuming traditional nutrients. Alexei looked at her with newfound appreciation, not just for her alien beauty, but for the evolutionary marvel she represented. Without thinking, he reached out, gently tracing the crystalline pattern along her cheekbone. They're warm, he observed with surprise. Energy conversion, she explained, her voice softening at his touch. We absorb, store, transform. The simulated radiation washed over them, harmful elements filtered by the chamber's safety protocols while preserving the visual spectacle. In this impossible meeting of worlds, something inevitable was unfolding. Your species would consider mine dangerously radioactive, Vexara whispered, not moving away from his touch. And mine would view yours as evolved for savage conditions. Yet here we are, Alexei replied, echoing her words from days earlier. The space between them vanished as Vexara leaned forward, pressing her lips to his. An intimacy that crossed species boundaries, radiation tolerances, gravitational adaptations. Her skin emitted a soft glow that illuminated them both as the kiss deepened, their fundamental differences momentarily irrelevant. When they finally separated, Vexara's crystalline features pulsed with energy. That was not in any xenobiology manual, she said with a smile. Definitely worth further study, Alexei agreed, his typically composed demeanor transformed by genuine happiness. The simulation faded as the chamber's automatic timer expired, returning them to the sterile academy environment. But something had irreversibly changed between them, a connection that defied the calculated probabilities of cross-species compatibility. As they reluctantly parted ways for the night, neither was aware of the classified communication being transmitted from Academy leadership to Concordat High Command, a detailed report questioning Earth's classification status and recommending immediate reassessment of humanity's potential role in galactic security. Nor did they notice Commander Thalia watching them from the corridor, her violet eyes troubled with knowledge that extended beyond tomorrow's intensified survival trial. The footage from Earth she'd accessed revealed warfare technologies and adaptive strategies that painted a disturbing picture. Humans hadn't just survived their challenging world. They had conquered it repeatedly against increasingly terrible odds. Class 9 won't be enough, she murmured to herself. Nothing in our simulations will.